Let it be known that I am most certainly a fan of survival horror games, have been ever since I first played Resident Evil Remake for the GameCube years back. This is the game that taught me how to have fun being scared, and it has led to hours of excitement going forward. I will be the first to admit, however, I haven't really been playing scary games as much as I used to these days. And what with it being horror month and all, I figured it was time to change that, so yeah. Here we go. The Suffering was published by
Midway Games.
Back when they still existed. It was a time when there was more to the gaming market than either the crazy expensive AAA console games or the indie games that you find on Steam and good old games. Middle of the road, good ideas at budget prices on consoles. I don't know anything about this game, but I assume it's a horror game because, well, look at it. But it's not enough to judge a book by its cover. It's also important to see what the internet has to say about it. Apparently it was reviewed pretty well, it sold over 1 million copies, the monsters were designed by Stan Winston Studios. Yeah, this Stan Winston. And the game was at one time released as freeware by the US Air Force. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming either. So the game's in the console, and the first thing the game does is ask me to adjust the in-game brightness. Now, I will confess that sometimes I bring the brightness up a bit higher than what they recommend, mostly so that I can, see shit. Is it cheating? Yeah, I guess, but I came here to play a video game, damn it. If I want to stumble around in the dark and be angry while doing it, I'll turn the lights off and sprinkle Lego all over the floor. But this game poses a question. There is a difference between those that feel safest in the light and those that feel safest in the dark. So is this some kind of metagame difficulty setting? Are you calling me chicken game? Are you calling me chicken? Seriously, are you? Because I'm not entirely sure. We open with a rather well-directed cutscene giving some vague exposition regarding our main character, Torque. He's a convicted murderer, supposedly having killed his wife and 2 sons, and has quite a reputation as a prisoner from a previous placement. We also learn that Torque's trial was less than what you'd call thorough, and he claims to have blacked out during the fact and has no memory of the event itself. We get to meet his blockmates only briefly because, spoilers, they don't last very long, but I will say that they at least show that this game isn't afraid to dig deep into some really uncomfortable stuff.
Whatever I've done, the Reverend says Jesus has forgiven me.
Will you shut the fuck up, you baby-raping, sodomizing sack of shit?
Yikes! At the very least, I can praise this game on its voice acting and delivery. Clearly some real effort went into this. I even buy the profanity, which often sounds forced or out of place in a lot of video games, especially ones from the era in which this game was made. So remember when I said that they didn't last long? Yeah, so you're in prison and there are monsters. That's pretty much what we have to work with here.
Inmate, back in your cell. Everything's under control.
Yeah, everything's under control, my ass. Oh, see? I gotta say, I am kind of sufficiently nervous, kinda hoping I come across an MP5 or a grenade launcher or like a tank or tactical nuclear missile or we could start with this. Jeez, that's a big knife. So one of the mechanics the game offers is the opportunity to break into guard stations and look at security monitors to see what's coming up ahead. But pretty quickly you realize that these things are just another way for the game to try and freak you out. Ooh, what the fuck was that? Did you see that? Or was it just me? Okay, here are some dudes, and I don't want to go down that hallway. And the game must have heard me because guess what? Here I am in the tunnel of smeared corpses. Yay! This game is easily the grimmest and probably goriest game I've ever played. This game is nothing short of downright creative in its eviscerations. Oh man, not on the pants. One thing that separates this game from other survival horror games pretty noticeably is their inclusion of other characters who not only interact with Torque, but join him for periods of time. The first one you come across is this prison guard who originally is hostile, but eventually relents.
But you will do exactly what I say, or I will punch a hole in your sorry ass. Got it?
Wait, you mean like another one? Well, I don't know, I was just gonna pay a doctor to do it, but if you insist! When you meet a person as such, you always get a devil-angel exchange in your head over whether or not you should kill them. I decided to save him, I guess, which basically consisted of me watching him shoot monsters while I gallantly decided not to stab him with my massive knife, the best kind of help. I get my kudos, and then my new friend runs headlong into... yeah. Which is fine by me, I guess, because, then I get his gun. Not just a gun, but a revolver, which is more badass, I'm assuming. Gotta say, feeling a bit more secure, or at least I would if the game didn't control like an 18-wheeler with 18 flat tires. The movement and aiming mechanics have been problematic at best thus far, and they're only exacerbated by adding guns to the mix. I mean, look at how long it takes me to turn around and look at the door behind me. If there had been a monster behind me, there would have been a problem, and there often is a problem because there's often that thing that I just said. Also, this game has a tendency to have rooms that seem important but apparently aren't, like this one here, which, FYI, is the room that my crispy new friend fried in the entrance of. An electric chair, some glowing circles with buttons in them? I want to push the buttons. Ow! Son of a bitch. Okay, don't push the buttons. Nothing's happening in this room, but it looks really important. Why you do this to me, game? Finally pulling myself away from the shiny electrified buttons, I find myself at what appears to be an entrance. Metal detectors and stuff. It isn't long before I'm attacked by... Yep. Okay, nothing special, but, you know, I guess fights like this are gonna happen. Yeah, you run away. That's clever. I'm glad that happened, and there's lots of other stuff to be glad about because that's not the only clever thing about this game. What is most interesting, or at least unique, about The Suffering as a horror game is the way in which it chooses to scare you. Most horror games will rely on jump scares on one level or another during gameplay, or cutscenes to deliver the scary, but The Suffering presents a quandary. You're playing as a hardened criminal with 2 revolvers, nothing scares you, or at least nothing should. Resident Evil? Yeah, can't wait to see what they got around the next corner. This is some scary shit. Lone Survivor? Every time combat happens, it's like... Is it over? Silent Hill, what dark corner of the human psyche are they gonna probe next? But with The Suffering, the gameplay is action-packed, the cutscenes are cinematic and kind of goofy, the kills are a bit overdone, but The Suffering does something different. During the flowing action scenes, the game encourages you to stop and look around. One example is the security monitors I mentioned before, which is creepy in the beginning, but you do kind of get used to it. It's mildly useful, kind of freaky, and what the hell is that behind me? And there is nothing there. Oh, Midway, you magnificent bastards, you. There are also these little game-interrupting moments of mental reflection the game has, kind of like mini cutscenes that blend into the gameplay smoothly enough. They aren't exactly fun or fun to watch, but they further the environment and the story of the game nicely. I remember the first few times they stopped me and surrounded me with monsters. That few seconds I was surrounded by fake monsters got me to switch into battle mode, and I was appropriately tense for a fight. Which never happened. I remember this moment because I'm pretty sure this is the first time a game has ever managed to so properly mess with my instincts and use them against me. So many times it's all about the "what was that?" and you get ready to fight like anything and everything. Here it's more like, oh, it's more of these guys, but it's a lot of these guys, so it's gonna be kind of a tough fight, so I'm ready and raring to go for a tough fight, and then there's no tough fight. Okay. It's an interesting and cool scare tactic to be sure, though I did get used to it after a while, at least until the time they didn't disappear. A double fake out, you wondrous assholes! What isn't so well thought out, though, are these morality decisions the game has you make. The one with the prison guard was easy. Either I could let him kill things for me, or I would slice dice and serve on rice, or fried, you know, whatever works. Easy decision. I wasn't even really sure I was making one. The same decision-making process went into this bit here. Big shiny button in the middle of the room? Yeah, I'm gonna press that shit!
What's that smell?
I don't know. What'd you have for lunch?
This is a mistake. Shut off the gas.
I'm trying! So yeah, making an educated decision here was difficult because, well, it's so shiny. I felt as though that situation could have gone better, but oh well. Continuing on, I meet a sepia-toned mad scientist who is manifested by way of old film projectors. If I'm honest, I kind of like the projector guy. It's a cool idea that fits the whole what the hell is going on here theme without distracting from the attitude of the game. So Hector the Projector Spectre, not his real name, just fun to say, starts off the conversation by implying that these blackouts, which were supposedly responsible for Torx attacking his wife and children, are more than what they appear. Suddenly an insanity meter appears, and once Torx has killed enough monsters, he can transform into the least creative monster design yet. But what's even more disappointing is how I don't really see myself using this in the future. Given the way that this game controls, I'd rather keep use of my gun. Sorry, 2 guns, which I have more or less gotten used to using by now. Later, I get trapped in an observation room by a film projector. Still a pretty neat idea, but if this keeps up, probably the last time I will ever want to say that. I want to leave. I'll make it go away. I want to keep playing the game. Whatever. Before I am allowed to leave, however, I get to watch an instructional video featuring the projector specter as lector and injector connector to a lie detector objector, which honestly is a darkly funny scene, especially when he gets to the part about how the injection might not work, and it is then up to the executioner to use sharp objects to achieve the desired result. Damn. I am consistently impressed by this game's ability to appeal to the darkest parts of my sense of humor. Because, you know, botched executions, hilarious. In what is supposed to be supplemental to the little game-stopping cutscenes, there are also these flashes of what are supposed to be memories, I guess. They've actually been happening the whole time, but they seem to be getting worse around this point in the game. They even happen during dialogue. I get that these are supposed to be traumatizing memories, but I can't help but compare these to just, like, bleh, bleh. Eventually, I run into a guy named Dallas, who apparently knows Torque from his last prison placement. It's the same situation as the prison guard from earlier. You can choose whether or not you want to kill him on the spot or help him to his destination, no matter how final it may or may not be. But Dallas is the first one you actually have to protect in order to get him to the end. To his credit, he does a good job of at least keeping himself alive so you can take care of the monsters. In all honesty, I want to rag on this guy because, you know, gotta stay entertaining, and spoilers, it's coming. But for as much as I'm making fun of the game, I really just want to take a moment to remind you all of this game's writing. Dallas starts the game off talking like every other character, nothing of a whole lot of meaning to say, but every now and then...
There's an old abandoned asylum on the east side of Garnet. Maybe that's where the government been doing their experiment. You know, turning the inmates into those freaks of nature. Didn't they ever read Mary Shelley? Learn that shit don't ever work out.
It's been conducting experiments on us inmates. Next phase of MK Ultra, if you can believe that shit.
This game is so much smarter than it looks. With the themes here and all the references, it's like this game speaks to me. But maybe it speaks a little too much.
Hey, Tor, the gates are open now.
Dallas.
Keep moving.
Dallas,
man. Fuck you waiting for?
Dallas.
You
Shut. I'm busy. I'm trying to. What is your problem, Dallas? All right, I'm here. What is it?
Tor, fuck you waiting for?
Okay, done with you. So I'm walking down this road and I come to a cavern, sort of a tunnel that the level naturally leads me to and through. There is a cutscene at the end of it and monsters appear. Beat 'em up, y'all. But once I'm done, where do I go? Like, my kids ran out this way. Am I supposed to follow them? There's nothing saying that I shouldn't. There's invisible walls at all the options. No, what I actually have to do is ignore the natural progression in the design of the level and stare at this truck long enough to notice that there's a jack there so that I can jack it up, send it down the hill, and create a step up to keep going that way. Well, forgive me for not wanting to incur damages. My shirt's a stretch thin enough as it is. I gotta say though, up to this point, I was actually really enjoying the game. For all the faults here, there were certainly enough good points to keep me going and more than interested. The jokes and dialogue were smart, the references showed intelligence, and the monsters were creepy and not so easily killed that they stopped being at least stressful. I was ready to call this one a diamond in the rough, but then something happened. As one might expect. It was kind of stealthy. I didn't really realize it until it was too late, but the game got shitty. It's sad when it happens, but boy did this game go off the deep end. Seriously, it's the kind of thing that not only is now a chore to play, but it makes me think less of the parts of the game that I liked. I mean, the game has always had issues, but for the most part, the environment design worked well with what they did manage to pull off. But that's all totally out the window now! The clever writing is just gone, and I haven't felt scared or engaged in hours at this point. The stupid momentary flashbacks are happening like every 10 freaking seconds at this point. Why? I'm doing the good ending! There is seriously nothing to be said about the last quarter of the game. Like, it makes me want to go back and unsay the things I've already said. When I finally came to the last boss, I was relieved, I think. I'm not actually sure. I didn't even know it was the last boss until something stupid happened. Yeah, apparently you fight yourself with no real explanation as to how or why, but the twist is you can only fight your two selves in the opposite of whatever form you aren't in. Okay. But then things get even better, and I cannot stress those air quotes enough, when you come upon the real last boss, which is a whole heap of I don't know, but what I do know is... whole ending sequence is so frustrating. Like, so frustrating, in fact, that I even grew magic powers just so I could make it go away faster. I'm not even making that up, see? Magic powers. Why? Why are the magic powers? And when the ending rolls around, it turns out that Torque was innocent the whole time, and that some Randys broke into the house one day and killed his peeps, and guess what? It turns out the judge went, whoopsie, and all the charges are probably gonna go away.
Says the prosecutor on your case is being indicted.
Why? Why? Why with the prosecutor indictment? Why with these guys? And that is all aside from the obvious question, namely, who in their right mind names their kid Torque? Seriously, this ending is basically downright schmaltzy. It's worse than schmaltzy, it's stupid. And yeah, I went and watched the other two endings, not much better. They make a bit more sense, but I think it's a case of the situation being more interesting than the characters. Like, I know I didn't illustrate it super well up to this point, but this game started off really strong. The intelligent references, the way they didn't shy away from confronting the darkness in humanity, the borderline poetic ways in which they engaged in criticizing the prison system, and that is all to say nothing of the themes and ideas presented in this game that I didn't even touch because I actually have no idea how to begin discussing them on a show like this. That was all so long ago, and at this point the game has basically just become another run and gun, which just so happens to take place in and around a prison. This game has so much potential.